To the studio for the first time, I think, live on the air from the first congressional district, the southern chunk of Minnesota, the burbs of Iowa, some might call it, but not to his face. Jim Hagedorn joins us. Jim, welcome to the broadcast.
Mitch, it's a pleasure to be here. Thank you.
Good pleasure to have you. And, of course, down from the Great White North, perhaps the number one chance of a pickup, according to the Republican National Committee, anywhere in the country. From the 8th Congressional District, Pete Stauber joins us. Pete, welcome.
Good afternoon, Mitch. It's great to be here at the Great Minnesota Get-Together.
It is great to get to meet you here as well here. For the first time, I think I've had both of you in the same place live. By the way, it's not only the Great Minnesota Get-Together, it's the great on-a-stick joke-free zone here. There will be none of that on the air on this station, at least nothing live on the studio. So you guys are both in the spotlight right now. You both have some races that are broadly considered to be high likelihoods of a pickup, of a flip from a Democrat. In your case, Jim Hagedorn, a seat that's been held by Democrats since 2006, when Tim Walz upset Gil Gutknecht way back when. In your case, Pete Stauber, a district that, with one 2-year exception, has been held by the Democrats, by the DFL, since Christopher Columbus came to America and found Norwegian graffiti.
Mitch, the last 70-plus years. Chip Kravac from 2010 to 2012 held that seat as a Republican.
Exactly that. Other than that, 1948 was the last time a Republican held it for any length of time whatsoever. So both of these races are big news. I guess the big question is here, how's it going out there? We'll start with you, Jim Hagedorn. You're running in a district that is kind of like my native North Dakota, kind of a place that should not be electing Democrats. How's it going?
It's going great. You know, when Tim Walz abandoned that race, it really switched for us. And we were so close last time. We had 49.6 against Tim. And just came out of a primary victory, 28 points, 20 of 21 counties. Our competitor, Carla Nelson, was gracious enough to call and congratulate us, wish us support and unity. So, you know, the Democrats down there, they have nominated somebody way, way to the left of even Walz. And so it sets up as a great contrast for us. We're going to go back to the Obama ways, or are we going to keep moving in this right direction?
I love that. And the fact is they gave you a candidate that I hate to sound confident or overconfident, because I'm a good small-town Scandinavian boy and we don't do confidence. But if they're going to fly someone in to run against you, you'd think they'd fly in someone who more or less reflected the district. They may as well have flown in a Berkeley University professor to run against you.
Yeah. Our opponent, Dan Fian, he's very, very far left and open borders, wants gun control down there. Said that we should emulate Australia where they confiscate weapons. That's really going to fly in southern Minnesota. But, you know, he came out of Washington. He was part of the Obama administration, the Obama machine from Chicago. And, you know, not only Dan came into the district, but so has a lot of money from around the country. New York, Chicago, Washington, California.
Hollywood.
Yeah. And so that's one of the challenges that we have, is to make sure we keep pace in that area.
Well, let's talk about that in a moment here. But Pete Stauber, you're running from a district that the first time we talked, it surprised me. I knew that the Republicans and conservative principles had been picking up steam there. You told me something I didn't even remember from election night, that Trump carried the 8th Congressional District by double digits. Yeah. It's a whole different district than I grew up with.
Without question, Mitch. You know, I've been on the campaign trail for 14 months now, right. And the change is palpable. You know, President Trump won our district by just under 16% in 16, and my message has been, I'm a blue-collar, common-sense conservative. That's who we are in the 8th District of Minnesota. And when I talk about my life experience, 8 years as a Hermantown City Councilor, in my second term as a St. Louis County Commissioner, 23 years in professional law enforcement, 22 with the city of Duluth, retired as an area commander. My wife is the first female command chief at Duluth 148th Fighter Wing, an Iraq war veteran. That all resonates in our district.
It does, and at least the Democrats up there were smart enough to endorse someone up against you after taking many shots at trying not to. Of at least endorsing a local with a name that just screams Iron Range, Joe Radinovich, who can buy his own ads from here on out. But on the other hand, I mean, the DFL has moved far to the left of the DFL up there, which is traditionally considered the pro-gun, pro-life wing of the DFL.
Oh, without question. Mitch, every single week I get moderate Democrats saying, Pete, we're with you.
Yes.
We don't know where our party is anymore. And they understand, you alluded to pro-life. I'm the only pro-life candidate in the race in the 8th. The Second Amendment is extremely important to the men and women and the people who live up in northern Minnesota.
It
And
is.
so those are great discussions to have. The logging community has supported me, and so we're getting a lot of support. It's grassroots, and as a former professional athlete, Mitch, I will never underestimate my opponent.
Out away. That works. We'll come back to the issues that you're running into up there in a moment here. Jim Hagedorn, down in the first congressional district, obviously Iowa North, much the same way as the 7th CD is North Dakota East. Well, what are the issues? What are you hearing from people in your district as you campaign around for the third time? You obviously are getting
Sure.
to know the district pretty well. What are you hearing from people? What's the make or
Honestly,
break?
the people are looking. Are we going to stay the course? Are we going to keep moving in the right direction? I always tell people I want to partner with President Trump to keep making these changes, or are we going to go backwards and then some to the Obama ways? And frankly, these whether it's Pete's race or the one in the 7th, mine, these are all miniature national elections. You know, the future of the country, one way or the other, is going to go a direction based on whether or not we can win, hold the House, and keep moving. The people are just like everybody else. They want to secure America. I say keep America safe with secure borders, make sure we have peace through strength. They want regulatory reform, tax reform, energy independence, things like that to keep the economy moving. Then it comes to our God-given rights, right to life, right to keep and bear arms, right to religious freedom, very important to the people of southern Minnesota, as I think up in the 8th District as well. And lastly, we're an ag-based economy down there. Farming and agriculture, very important. Want to sustain farming, make sure that we continue our way of life. And I want to serve on the committee, the Ag Committee, and get that done.
So obviously, the Democrats have been trying to make a lot of hay about the idea that the trade war that we're having is gutting agriculture. What are you hearing from the agricultural community in the first CD?
The Democrats and some media are using pretty provocative language. You know, the president campaigned on these issues. He said China and some of these other countries. Pete knows these issues even better than me when it comes to steel.
Yeah.
They've been ripping us off, and he said he wanted to reset these trade agreements. What the farmers in southern Minnesota tell me is they get that. They're going to give the president his due to go out there and be the chief executive. And in the long run, they believe that it's going to be better for steel workers, farmers, consumers, and everyone. And, the Democrats are piling on. They talk about trade war and this and that. Hey, during the Obama administration, the Democrat Party had a war on agriculture with massive regulations, massive Obamacare costs, energy policies that drove up costs of farmers. They weren't 85% of the Democrats voted against free trade agreements that Obama, their president, was trying to negotiate. So I don't think the farmers will buy it, and they're going to stick with the president on this one.
Pete Stauber, obviously, you're running to represent the Iron Range. I remember when I was in high school, the DFL went at the mining industry with a blackjack. I mean, they just pounded it down. It has never come back. You've got to be hearing from the mine workers up in that area.
You know, Mitch, we talk about iron ore mining. We've been doing it safely in northern Minnesota for 135 years. We know how to mine in Minnesota.
Yep.
And, the next issue comes up is not only iron ore and taconite mining, which we do very well, but it's the copper nickel mining that is going to happen. We know that the Duluth complex is the biggest copper nickel find in the world, and we're gonna use 21st century mining technology with science and facts. We will keep the environment pristine. We can have both. We can mine copper nickel, have safe and secure environments, clean water, clean air, and bring great paying jobs to the Northland. And I'll give you an example. Minneapolis held the Super Bowl last year. For a week, it was about a $505 million economic activity for that 7 days.
Yep.
Just the Polymet project alone will bring over that to the northern Minnesota economy. So that's like bringing the Super Bowl
Every year
for a minimum of 20 years up there. And we demand that Polymet meets all federal and state environmental regulations and allow them to mine those minerals that are strategic. Those are minerals that are strategic for our national security.
Oh, yeah.
And so the miners up in the Iron Range understand that I have unwavering support for them, not just these last 2 months in the election.
Absolutely. Now, so what? Obviously, mining's a big one, and of course, it's an issue that the DFL, controlled as it is by metro area environmental people who are who pump a lot of money into that. That's obviously.
But it's changing.
Issue. It is.
Mitch, it's changing. I'm telling you, the mayors of Evelyn, Virginia, Babbitt, Buell, Ely, Two Harbors, Hermantown, Rice Lake, they're all on board. They know that I have their backs in supporting these great paying jobs and support our economy.
Absolutely. Mining is a huge issue, and obviously it's flipped politics on its head up there, obviously, in the last, since I've been following it. Completely unthinkable. What are some of the other things that you're hearing from voters up in the 8th?
As Jim alluded to, the Tax Cut and Jobs Act, just for Minnesota 8 families on average, it's $2,500 a year in savings. That's like 3 to 4 mortgage payments in the 8th District of Minnesota.
Yeah.
And so when you look at that, I want to go to Congress to continue to generate revenue for the families of Minnesotans, and to make sure that we create an environment where if somebody wants a good paying job, they can have one. They can live the American dream, their version of the American dream. And that's why one of the reasons I'm going, I want people I want to leave this country better than the greatest generation gave it to us. And they gave us a great country. And for our grandchildren and our children, I want to be able to allow them to live in a most prosperous economic country that we can possibly give them.
And the 8th CD has so much raw material, literally and figuratively, to do that. There's no reason it should be underperforming the way it has for a generation.
We have, Mitch,
Yep.
taconite,
Yep.
timber, the port,
Yes.
tourism, copper, nickel, and of course our hunting and fishing up there. The 8th and our summer vacation places.
Yeah.
The 8th Congressional District of Minnesota is, in my mind, one of the most beautiful places to come visit and live.
You've got Crazy Mary's in Finlayson, for crying out loud. For that alone, the place deserves better. We're talking with Pete Stauber, GOP-endorsed candidate for the 8th Congressional District, and Jim Hagedorn, who's running in the 1st on the southern part of the state. One more segment. If you got questions, wave high. We can bring the mobile microphone out to you and get your questions in. So just make your presence known. We'll get out to you there. We're on the Northern Alliance Radio Network, AM 1280 The Patriot, live at the Minnesota State Fair. Not on a stick. Never.
So the sun don't blind me, no. It's nothing like summertime in the hood. Let's have a block party. Get on up, ain't got nothing else to do. Let's have a barbecue. Grab your phone, everybody go call the crew. Let's have a block party. Summertime, and the sun don't set the night. As long as the beat don't.
Device Pit Stop pays cash for your devices, iPads, cell phones, and laptops. Bring them in and our trusted pit crew will give you a fair and honest quote for your device. Don't take risks by selling to strangers. Device Pit Stop pays top dollar. Check out our 5 Twin Cities locations. Go to devicepitstop.com. That's devicepitstop.com.
This is a special notice to all U.S. taxpayers. If you owe the IRS or state back taxes and cannot afford to pay them back, there's good news. Due to the financial hardship many are facing in today's economy, the IRS has made it easier to settle delinquent tax problems through a federal program called the Fresh Start Initiative. Qualifying for this program will resolve your tax problem, end all collections, and possibly reduce your back taxes by up to 90%. If you are facing wage garnishments, liens, bank levies, audits, or payroll taxes, it's not too late. Your circumstances may qualify you for this special program, protecting your savings and your assets. If you owe the IRS or state back taxes and cannot afford to pay them back, there's no need to worry anymore. Call the hotline at Victory Tax Solutions to see if you qualify and potentially save thousands. For this free information, call 800-813-1105. 800-813-1105. That's 800-813-1105.
Hugh Hewitt for Patriot Mobile. Patriot Mobile is the only conservative cell phone company in the nation that fights for your values. They partner with over 15 conservative organizations like Gun Owners of America, the Heritage Foundation, the Susan B. Anthony List. Patriot Mobile takes a portion of your bill and contributes it back to these organizations. No extra cost to you. Support conservative causes you believe in and switch to Patriot Mobile's nationwide super fast, super reliable network. Unlimited talk and text plans start at just $20 a month. Plus, you can save on select iPhones starting at only $4 a month. At this great value, one size doesn't have to fit all. Pick one that's right for you and your budget. They also have great deals on Android phones. Hurry, join Patriot Mobile. This offer is valid while supplies last. Also, make sure to mention the promo code HUGH to waive your activation fee when you join. Call 1-800-A-PATRIOT or go to patriotmobile.com/Hugh. Again, patriotmobile.com/Hugh or 1-800-A-PATRIOT. Start making conservative change happen every time you use your cell phone.
If it was 1990, you'd be listening to your favorite radio station on a bulky boom box that burns through D batteries faster than you can say, "You've got mail." Thankfully, it's the 21st century, and there are much better alternatives. For example, just ask Alexa to tune in.
Alexa, play the Patriot Minneapolis.
It's time to throw out that old beeper and get with the times. Listen to your favorite AM 1280 The Patriot hosts in high quality with Alexa and Amazon Echo.
Did you know that your heart health is affected by good oral care? If it's been longer than 6 months since you scheduled your teeth cleaning, call Barnett Family Dentistry, just off of Highway 10 in Ramsey. Quality dental care, courteous service, and respect for all the smiles in your family. Barnett Family Dentistry.
Welcome back, Twin Cities and World. The wind beneath the right wing, the Northern Alliance Radio Network, live at the Minnesota State Fair on Underwood, just south of Murphy. By the way, we are being brought to you today, because these broadcasts don't come for free. We are being brought to you by Device Pit Stop in Maple Grove. And not only are they bringing the sponsorship live, but they're bringing the device charging station over there by the merch booth. If you're if you got a mobile phone of any variety, Android or iPhone, stop on by, grab yourself a little bit of charge, courtesy of our sponsors from Device Pit Stop in Maple Grove. And, of course, we are here at the A.C. Nelson RV World Studios, the broadcast complex up here on Underwood, just south of Murphy, with Jim Hagedorn, GOP-endorsed candidate for Congress in the 1st Congressional District, and Pete Stauber, who's running up in the 8th Congressional District. If you have a question for either of them, by the way, just wave your hand, and I'll be out there momentarily with the mobile microphone. Yeah, hang on. We'll be out there with you shortly. Jim Hagedorn. And Pete Stauber, both of you. One of the big issues this year, especially in the lights of the events of this past week or so, has been immigration. What are you hearing from people in the 1st and the 8th, respectively, about the immigration issue? I'll start with you, Jim Hagedorn.
You know, people have been frustrated for 30 or 40 years on this issue. And finally, we have a president that's willing to address it, not just pay it lip service. And you have a Democrat Party that's so far left, they've basically left America on this one. They want to fight Trump on every single thing. We see what happens when we don't secure our borders and we don't have a merit-based system of immigration. People coming in here and committing crimes and other things, and it's just unnecessary. We don't need it. So, a good indication of how far left the Democrat Party is on this. Tim Walz, running for governor the other day, says he wants to make Minnesota a sanctuary state. That's going to draw in more illegals, drive up our costs, increase crime. Now we need to secure our borders, merit-based immigration, defund these sanctuary cities, and then have a work program at the end to make sure jobs are filled and people can come and go in a reasonable fashion. But there couldn't be a bigger difference. My opponent, Fian, he's for open borders and the rest of it. Just ridiculous.
Pete Stauber up in the 8th Congressional District, overwhelmed with Canadians pouring across the border. A little different take on the issue, perhaps. How is that issue playing up in the 8th CD?
Well, for me, being in law enforcement the last 23 years, I support the rule of law, and I support legal immigration. Where the immigrant wants to come to this great nation, live their version of the American dream, and contribute. The bottom line is immigrants have contributed to this nation. They will continue to contribute. They have enriched this nation, and our goal is to make sure that we strengthen and preserve the border security.
Absolutely. We got a question from the audience. Paul from Rochester joins us. Paul, you have a question for the candidates?
Yes, sir. Thank you. I've had 23 doctors in the last 4 years, and healthcare, it's been very, very, very difficult. And I'd like to learn your views, both of you, regarding healthcare, Medicaid. Things need to be better than they are now, in my opinion.
Both of your opponents have expressed views on how to deal with the healthcare crisis. What's your response and what's your take? Let's start with you, Pete Stauber.
So we know that if Obamacare was the answer, we wouldn't be talking about healthcare right now. We know that there was a lot of missteps in that, and it was driven and pushed onto our citizens by one political party. With that being said, I want to look at healthcare that is of high quality. It's affordable. It's got to be accessible. And where it's patient-driven, where the patient and the doctor drive their healthcare needs, where no unelected Washington bureaucrat stands in between that decision between the patient and the doctor. And we can have that. And my goal would be, when I'm elected, to go and have that good conversation. And regardless of what party gets, quote, credit for it, We have to do it for the American people, and I want to go to Washington to have that good discussion.
It's particularly a sore spot in rural Minnesota, Jim Hagedorn, because the withdrawal of healthcare plans from rural markets should have been a scandal for this last 4 years. I mean, vast swaths of Minnesota have one plan to choose from. What's your proposal regarding healthcare?
Well, I tell you, we hear it all the time. You know, there are farmers and others in our district spending $20,000-$30,000 a year for premiums with deductibles so high the underlying insurance is virtually worthless.
Jeez.
And so, the Obamacare, as Pete said, it didn't work. We didn't need it in Minnesota. We had 94% people with insurance. We had a mechanism for people with pre-existing expensive needs. So at a minimum, all that responsibility needs to come back to the states. Let the states decide some of these programs to get moving. We need to inject shopping and transparency and cost and things of that nature. In Rochester, Minnesota, this concept of Medicare for all, universal health care, the Mayo Clinic, 40,000 jobs, all the economic vibrancy in Rochester. My opponent is just out to lunch. Medicare for all is going to be VA care for everyone, and we can't have that.
What people don't realize is that healthcare was even with the consumer price index up until 1973. When what happened? The feds got involved. We got one more question from Hermantown. Carolyn joins us. Carolyn, you have a question for the candidates?
Yeah, so I am 100% pro Second Amendment, and I grew up shooting shotguns on the gun range. I understand gun safety, but I know a lot of people around the country do not understand it. What are your thoughts on the Second Amendment amongst the masses?
Thank you. Let's start with Jim Hagedorn.
Well, I'm a defender of the Second Amendment, A rating from the NRA and all that. And, law-abiding Americans deserve the opportunity to protect themselves and use firearms for law-abiding purposes. And, again, it's another divide between Republicans and Democrats. The Democrats are out there with gun control. My opponent talks about we should follow the ways of Australia and how they've handled firearms issues. My goodness, they confiscated weapons in Australia. We don't need any of that. We have the Second Amendment and the Constitution, and we're going to defend them.
Absolutely. Pete Stauber, this got to be flying like a lead balloon up there in the 8th.
It is. Having been a police officer for 23 years, I can say that I've been a victim of 2 violent gun crimes. In '95, I was shot in the head by a career criminal through the windshield of my pickup truck while off duty. And while on duty, a hostage situation, a suspect got the drop on me, pulled the trigger. By the grace of God, it malfunctioned, and I was literally fighting for my life. And you know what, Mitch? I still support the Second Amendment because those 2 individuals who tried to take my life are criminals.
Right.
And there's not a person that I know, a Second Amendment supporter that I know, that wants a career criminal, a drug addict, or somebody who's going through a mental health crisis to have access to a firearm. But please don't take that right away from me and my wife to protect me or my wife or my children from a great bodily harm or death.
Or your community or your freedom. And by the way, not to switch races here, but the idea that Tim Walz is running around after years of having an A rating from the NRA, cuddling up literally to protect Minnesota, and then turning around and saying, I can provide a bridge between the shooters and the gun controllers. No, you're a traitor.
Tim's been burning that bridge all the way to running for governor. And
he blew that bridge up with a wad of C4.
Yeah, and we told people he was taking positions down there just to get reelected to Congress in a conservative-leaning district, and he's exposing himself for the liberal that he is.
Yeah,
we strongly support Jeff Johnson, and we're looking forward to getting him in as governor.
And Mitch, as you said, you talked about the support for the Second Amendment up in the 8th District. It is absolutely unwavering support, without question.
A frustrated DFLer friend of mine from St. Paul called it the pro-assault rifle wing of the DFL. And I thought, that seems to fit. We got about 2 minutes to go here, gentlemen, and we got a lot. We need to do this again sometime before the election for sure. How can people find out more about your campaign, Pete Stauber, and what kind of help do you need to put yourself not only over the top, but win by a generational margin?
Yeah, so they can get a hold of my campaign at PeteStauberForCongress.com, PeteStauberForCongress.com. I have my headquarters in my hometown of Hermantown, and really the way people can get involved is contact the campaign. You can help put out yard signs. You can help door knock, but most importantly, Mitch, get the message out. Talk about I'm not only just campaigning. I've lived my life, and when I talk to people about what I've done in my life and what my family has done, they understand and they appreciate that. And we're having the blue collar common sense conservative message is resonating, and I just want people to get on board. If you have questions, ask. Don't let anybody other than myself define me. And we'll be open to all kinds of discussions.
Absolutely. Jim Hagedorn,
That's-
where can
yeah.
people find out more? And
JimHagedorn.org. We appreciate all their support. You know, this race is going to be won on the ground out there. We've got to get our Republican and independent-minded folks out to vote. We appreciate what the Republican Party in Minnesota has been doing with some of the ground game and everything. So support the candidates, Pete, myself, others like Dave Hughes, support the party. And I'd just like to say on a personal note here, it's an honor to be with both of you. But Pete, we respect and we love our law enforcement. We appreciate all you've done over the years to protect and serve. So it's an honor to be with you today.
Thank you. I appreciate that, Jim.
Pleasure to have you both here. And here's hoping that all the talk about huge flips coming up for both of you comes true. We definitely have to do this before the election just to make sure, because I have no problem with bouncing the rubble if it does turn out to be a blowout. That'd be just fine by me. But thank you both for stopping by. What's your favorite fair food?
1 minute.
Corn dog.
Hey, the big fat bacon or whatever. Come on, I got to support my hog farmers in southern Minnesota.
I got to find the bacon. It's one of the few things that the fair can still eat this year. So we may have to talk after the interview here. So, gentlemen, thank you all for stopping by. Let's do this again, and let's get you a big tailwind all the way up through November here. Thank you all very much.
Thank you.
Pete Stauber from the 8th Congressional District, Jim Hagedorn from the 1st. They're on their way down to the GOP booth to do the congressional forum down there. I would join, except, of course, I'm in the 4th CD, and we're going to do the best we can there. So, absolutely. Northern Alliance Radio Network live from the Minnesota State Fair on Underwood, just south of Murphy. We'll be right back. Go nowhere.